My name is Rick Van Nieuwenhuyse. I'm the president and CEO of Contango Ore. We are not looking for lithium. We're a gold company. Probably one of the only ones around. We are in Alaska. Just quickly, we're a bit unusual in a lot of ways. We're New York listed. We're not Canadian. We trade at $23, not 23 cents. We have a very tight share structure. We've done that on purpose. We haven't rolled it back 100 to 1 or something like that. It's a purposeful vehicle that's near-term production, and I'll walk you through the story quickly. We're in Alaska. We're developing our Manh Choh project in joint venture with Kinross, and we're working with the Alaska Native tribe, the Tetlin Village tribe. We also I'll talk a bit about our Lucky Shot project, but I won't go into any detail on our other early stage exploration projects. So here's Manh Choh. Manh Choh means big lake in Athabaskan. We found a 1.3 million ounce, 4 gram open pit gold mine or gold project right off the Alaska Highway on land owned by the Tetlin tribe. We've had a business arrangement with the tribe for over 15 years while we've explored their lands. We entered into a partnership with Kinross to a 70-30 arrangement, basically to use their mill at Fort Knox to process our ore. So we negotiated a 70-30 joint venture with Kinross, and this was about 2 years ago. The red dot there is the Fort Knox mill. The gold dot is the Manh Choh project. We're located in kind of rolling hills in central Alaska. It's pretty typical country for what we call the Yukon-Tanana terrain. We found the deposit. We finished a feasibility study last year. I'll walk you through that. And we're basically now in construction. Construction is underway as we speak, and we'll be in production hopefully this time next year. All the main permits have been received already. Kinross put out a feasibility study July of last year, producing 225,000 ounces of gold, average grade 8 grams per ton, a gold equivalent. It's mostly gold, but there's a bit of silver too. So this ore will be transported as run-of-mine ore up to the Fort Knox mill in highway trucks, just big trucks that go on the highways. $182 million of capital spend. Our share would be a little over $55 million. As everybody knows, we're in an inflationary period still, and so Kinross has given us a heads up that we might need an extra $5 million. So that's all in sustaining costs. For Kinross will be $900. I'm guiding that ours are going to be more like $1,100. We're finalizing the toll arrangement, and the truck transport arrangement just got finalized. So I'm still guiding towards $1,100. So Kinross will obviously have a little better deal because it's their mill. So we'll pay them a bit extra money to process the ore there. Just a couple of photos. The Manh Choh site is located just in the background there, just off the highway. It's a paved highway all the way to Fairbanks. It is a long haul. It's 250 miles, but it's on the road. Kinross has been operating the Fort Knox mill for 25 years, so there's no startup, ramp up. There's no permitting issues. It's a big mill. It's a 55,000 ton a day mill. So, and our ore has great metallurgy. We're plan to average about 90% recovery on the gold with an 8 gram head grade. Site works have started. Basically, it's a construction of the road up to the mine site. There's a drill access road, but we need to have the highway trucks be able to go all the way up to the edge of the pit, pick up the run-of-mine ore from a stockpile, load it in the trucks, and then haul it up to Fort Knox. So that road work is being done now. We started it in the fall time. We received our permits in August, and so fall time we were starting to build the road. We've continued to build the road through the winter, and I was up there about 3 weeks ago, and they're making very good progress. About the only thing that really slows you down in Alaska is if it's 40 below. That's a bit too cold for the equipment and the people, so usually just kind of figure out something else to do and do something inside rather than try to break the equipment outside when it's 40 below. Camp has been completed. We renovated a hotel that had gone bankrupt during the COVID period. And so this has been a great local success too, because it's right in town, so it actually helps the community long term. At Fort Knox, some mill modifications taking place, basically because our grade is 8 grams per ton and average Fort Knox grade is more like half a gram a ton. We need a lot more carbon, cyanide, cyanide destruct, and lime. So the tankage needs to go up, the piping associated with that, and the pumps, of course. That's the main mill modifications. There's nothing else in the circuit that needs to be modified, just more volume. At the site, very simple mine plan, 2 open pits, stockpiles, temporary facilities for your potential acid generating waste rock that'll go back in the pit at the end of the mine life and get buried underwater. That will start, mining will start here probably in May. The contractor's been already hired, both for the ore haul, so company that's been in business in Alaska for about 35 years, Black Gold Transport. And then for the mining, the contract mining will be done by Kiewit. The reason we chose them is they have a huge fleet, a worldwide fleet of equipment to provide the mining expertise for us. Just quickly on exploration upside. The 2 black dots there are amoeba-shaped things. That's the north and main deposits at Manh Choh. The red, or the multicolor anomalism map, is just for gold. You can see the scale there. There's kilometric scale anomalies that have yet to be drilled along trend. So that's kind of the low-hanging fruit. There's some large-scale anomalies like at North Saddle that have virtually no drilling on them. So there's a lot more exploration work to come here. We spent $3 million last year, mostly doing stream sediment sampling and ridge and spur type sampling, orientation sampling on a very large land package that's shown here. So that entire map on the previous page is in the circle on this map. The Tetlin tribe owns about 680,000 acres of land, private land. It's about the size of the state of Rhode Island. It's tribal land, and we have a mining lease with them on the entire thing. And we've been working with them for about 15 years now, so we developed a good working relationship with the tribe. Obviously going to be a lot of exploration upside here. This is the Yukon-Tanana terrain, lots of known mines in the terrain, including Fort Knox and Pogo in Alaska, and several more in the Yukon. So we're in certainly prime hunting area for gold deposits. So we're basically a year's away from production. Gold price stays at $1,800 or better. We're generating $40 million of free cash flow. Remember, we only have 7.2 million shares outstanding, so cash flow per share is very, very high. That gives you huge leverage to gold. So on this map, you can see the Tintina Belt between the Tintina Fault and the Denali Fault. That's a big terrain with a lot of gold in it, a lot of alluvial placer gold that was mined early on, and now more recently, many gold discoveries. The area outlined in the orangey color is the lease with the Tetlin tribe. Adjacent to that, we have 2 claims that we own 100% of on state land, the Triple Z and the Eaglehona block up to the northwest. And then recently we staked the Shamrock property, another alluvial mining district with very little modern exploration. So that district is right next to the road. It's another thing, one of my tenets for our exploration programs is we're going to stick close to the road systems. I've been involved with big projects like the Donlin project. We discovered that 25 years ago, and it's still being permitted. So I like things that are next to the road and where I can find a nice quality deposit and just haul it up to the Fort Knox mill or haul it over to the Pogo mill. It makes a lot more sense to me than trying to slog through 5 years of permitting. It's with that in mind that we have our other project, the Lucky Shot, which is actually just outside Anchorage, Alaska's largest city. It's about an hour and a half drive from the airport. You can drive a minivan right up to the portal. This mine was in production up until 1942, when the War Act shut down all gold mining in the United States. Now, ostensibly, that was to direct all the industrial effort at the war effort, probably more nefariously to control the gold price. But this mine was shut down. It had produced high-grade gold from quartz veins, mesothermal quartz veins, hosted in a granite diorite intrusion, very simple geology. It had produced about 250,000 ounces at 40 grams per ton. Now, that's 1.5 ounces per ton. That's no doubt was selectively mined and high-graded, no question about that. More recently, work was done on the project and a feasibility study done that outlined about 200,000 tons at 18 grams per ton for about 120,000 ounces. These are relatively narrow veins, but very high grade. And we're on the road system, and we know that Fort Knox has a hungry mill. So our game plan was to go in here and come underneath the thing and pick up where the old timers left off, so to speak. The Lucky Shot is sort of the main vein where the main mining occurred back in, mostly in the 1930s. But the vein extends for well over a mile along strike. It has a couple of different names, but it's all the same vein, just offset by some small faulting. So you can see the in-search tunnel there. That's the level that we've refurbished and come underneath the vein now and are drilling in the footwall of the vein. Plan map here shows the in-search tunnel. The squiggly lines there, that's the historic underground working. So that's where the 250,000 ounces of 40 grams per ton, averaging 40 grams per ton came from. And you can see basically we've now refurbished the underground and we've got into the footwall of the vein. We've put a drift in parallel to the vein in the footwall, and we've just been drilling holes up into the vein. You can see that a bit more specifically here on the cross section below. Basically refurbished. The blue is the refurbished old tunnel. The green is the new tunnel. We've intersected the vein now. We're actually over into the hanging wall side. We put a drift in the footwall side and then started our fan drilling, detailed infill fan drilling. Results should be out here hopefully next week, and then we'll be putting our initial resource together hopefully by the end of March. This just shows sort of a 3D view of the vein. We've hit VG in a lot of the holes. Every hole we've drilled, we've intersected the vein. It's a nuggety, typical mesothermal quartz vein, so you're going to get ounce per ton material, and you're going to get 1, 2, 3 gram per ton material. And so that's why it requires a lot of drilling. The green is the in-search tunnel level. The yellow is what we call the western footwall drift. We'll put another drift off to the east and continue drilling that later this year. It's bound by 2 faults that separate the Warbaby segment from the Coleman segment. That historic resource that I mentioned earlier, the 120,000 ounces at 18 grams, that's on the Coleman side. And there's been 171 drill holes put in on that side that are now part of our land package. So our aim is to outline about 250,000 ounces and develop a mine plan around starting out maybe at 30,000 ounces and getting up to 50,000 ounces. We think that's fairly realistic. And then we'll talk to our friends at Fort Knox and see if they want to process our ore through their mill. It'll be a very simple ore to run through the Fort Knox mill. It's essentially just like the Fort Knox ore, except it's mostly quartz vein and not much granite, whereas Fort Knox is just the opposite. It's a big low-grade deposit. This is a small high-grade deposit. But it should go through the mill very, very well. You can see this is what the granite diorite's highly altered right adjacent to the vein, but you put your workings in the unaltered material and put all your development rock right into the vein itself. We've done close space drilling on 2 fans, and this is how you develop a resource. These things take a lot of drilling. which is why it's a lot cheaper to do it from underground. Of course, once you're underground, you have your development in for your eventual mining as well. So we'll look forward to updating you.